It's the Daily Dog.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Daily Doug. I am thankful that you are joining me today as we conclude what has been one of my favorite weeks on the Daily Doug in some time. It has been Women's Week this week, and I have so enjoyed getting to this powerful music by these wonderful ladies that we have listened to this week. But y'all, we couldn't do a Women's Week in music here on the channel without including Joni Mitchell. And so today on Masterpiece Friday, that is what we are doing. We're going to be looking at one of Joni's most well-known and beloved tunes, Both Sides Now. And I'm glad that you are here. We're going to deconstruct it and try to figure out why this song is so universally understood and palpable and powerful for all of us. And I'm glad you're here for the ride. So let's take a look at some background information, y'all. Both Sides Now was written in the 1960s, the mid-1960s, and it was first recorded by Judy Collins on her 1967 album called Wildflowers, which won a Grammy for Best Folk Performance. Joni's version, the one that we're going to listen to from her album called Clouds, was recorded and released a couple years later in 1969. In fact, the title of that album, Clouds, is inspired by the lyric in this particular song. And in the intervening years, this song has been recorded and reimagined by literally dozens of musicians, and it's also been included in many television shows, many movies. And I did find a quote from Joni as she said that Both Sides Now, this song was inspired by a passage in a book by Saul Bellow, a novel called Henderson the Rain King. And that's not a book that I know. But apparently she was reading it while traveling on a plane, and the main character was also on a plane in the book. And this character is on his way to Africa. He looks down and he observes these clouds from up in the plane. And so she puts her book down and she looks out the plane's window and she also sees clouds, and it sparked this idea for this song, which she started writing immediately. Right? And so we get this tune, and I had forgotten that Judy was the first one to record it, but I'm going to listen to Joni's original studio version that was released on Clouds in 1969, and we'll break it down as we go. So, y'all, are we ready? Here is Both Sides Now by Joni Mitchell. Here we go. F sharp major.
Flows of angel hair and ice cream castles in the air and feather canyons everywhere. I've looked at clouds that we.
It sounds like she's changing chords, but she's not changing the bass note, which is an F sharp.
They rain and snow on everyone. So many I would have done.
Classic. Just
but clouds got in my way.
Intimate performance, really nice strumming.
I've looked at clouds from both sides now, come up and down, and still somehow it's cloud illusions. I recall, I really don't know clouds.
So that's the first verse and the chorus. And so I want to talk about it a little bit. It is a couple different ways to look at clouds. She uses clouds as a metaphor here. So when we observe clouds, the first part of the verse, rows and flows of angel hair. So clouds can look like little wispy angels. It can look like, clouds can look like ice cream castles. Clouds can look like feather canyons. We have looked at clouds in that way. But clouds also block the sun. They rain, they snow, they keep us from doing the things that we have planned to do. So depending on your perspective, clouds can be angelic and playful and wispy and beautiful reflectors of light. And they can also be bringers of thunder and rain and snow and sleet, and can wash away our best laid plans, right? And so it broadens our perspective. She then says, I've looked at clouds from both sides now, right? From the bottom up and from the top down. We broaden our perspective and we develop empathy in the process. And we take time to more fully develop our point of view. And she realized it's clouds illusions, I recall. And I really don't know clouds at all. So she's like, once you can look at it from all these different things, it's hard to quantify how I actually do feel about it. You know, what is the reality? I really don't know. You know, it's everything at the same time. So let's keep going. Now she's moving on to love instead of clouds. Exact same poetic meter in these verses. It's a really, really clever lyric.
Yourself away. I've looked at love from both sides now.
And it's the same chorus, but it's now talking about love instead of clouds.
It's love's illusions. I recall, I really don't know love.
Okay, so let's dive into this verse a little bit, y'all. Moons and Junes and Ferris wheels. So the dizzy dancing way that you feel in every fairy tale becomes real. When we're newly in love, right? We're walking out on moonlit nights. We remember the moons. We remember the summer nights, especially from the northern hemisphere in June, right? These long evenings and warm temperatures and Ferris wheels, carnivals, like experiences. And in those experiences, you get this dizzy and dancing way that you feel. It's great alliteration. And she says, every fairy tale becomes real, or comes alive. You know, the pain and suffering in the fairy tale becomes not, and it's all great. And then she goes to the other side, right? But now it's just another show, and you leave them laughing when you go, and if you care, you don't let them know, you don't give yourself away. And now you're in a relationship. And maybe these experiences that brought you this dizzying feeling, this dancing feeling in your heart, is now a burden to you, or an obligation that you feel like you have to do, and you feel like you may be sacrificing part of yourself or what you want to do because this is expected of you somehow. And yeah, I've looked at love from both sides. It can stir us, it can move us, it can lighten our hearts, but it can sometimes burden us and fill us with obligation about all the things that we need to do to maintain the relationship that contains love. Right? So in both of these circumstances, from clouds or love, clouds are tangible. We can see them. They're observable, but they're untouchable. And so is love. It's tangible. We can experience it. It's observable. We can see it, right? We can see it working in us, but it's also untouchable, you know? So it's both of these metaphors that are working together, and it's just profound. I'm going to keep going with the song, y'all.
Tears and fears and feeling proud to say I love you right out loud. Dreams and schemes and circus crowds. I've looked
So now we're moving on even broader to life itself.
But now old friends are acting strange. They shake their heads, they say I've changed. Well, something's lost, but something's gained in living.
She hasn't moved on from that F sharp. She keeps kind of hinting at the 4 chord and the 5 chord as suspensions over that, as the melody kind of slithers in there. Yeah, that's a C sharp chord, but it's suspended, so it still has that F sharp in it. It's an interesting sound. The F sharp being time, our everlasting, you know. It's a low note from her that we just heard, and it was a little bit, you know, vulnerable and off, but she kept it in the recording. It's really cool. Just a simple acoustic guitar. The lyric is beyond, like I said, beyond profound, y'all. It's wonderful. In this last little section, she's moved from clouds to love, now to life, right? And so we get tears and fears and feeling proud to say I love you right out loud. Dreams and schemes and circus crowds. I've looked at life that way. These are profound moments, uplifting memories as part of our life experiences. And then she looks at it from the other side. She says, oh, but now old friends are acting strange. The relationships are changing. And they shake their heads and tell me that I've changed. So there's now loss and disillusion. She says, something's lost, but something's gained in living every day. Isn't that true? Really, really true. But you know, as great as this version is, y'all, the other version of this that Joni did is one that I am personally more familiar with. So in 2000, Joni Mitchell re-recorded this song with an orchestral arrangement, and the name of that album is actually called Both Sides Now. It won 2 Grammys, Traditional Pop Vocal Album and Best Instrumental Arrangement Accompanying Vocalists. I didn't know there was such a Grammy. This album in 2000 was her 17th studio album, and what I didn't realize is that this is a concept album. It walks the listener through a progression of this modern relationship, and she makes use of a bunch of classic songs, some jazz standards, some of her own pieces, and she's got a slew, too many to mention here, of top-notch musicians, and the album concludes, after everything, as we walk through this relationship, with this classic re-recorded version of Both Sides Now. The orchestra was arranged and conducted by Vince Mendoza. This particular version, and mainly the song itself, I first emotionally connected to in watching the 2003 movie Love Actually. Great movie. And there is this particularly powerful scene with the actress Emma Thompson, as her character is a Joni Mitchell fan, and she is going through a hard time, and this song plays, and it's powerful. The metaphor in this song is so powerful, y'all. It lends itself well to a narrative of a character learning or improving or gaining knowledge and perspective. And so it becomes universal for all of us. So, my friends, I want to look at this other version, this 2000 version, where she's singing it herself 34 or 35 years later, after it was first written and she first recorded it for her own album. And, you know, so it's going from hearing her voice as someone in their mid-20s to someone in their mid to late 50s. And it takes on an entirely different feel. It's in a different key, and it's orchestra instead of guitar, and her voice is completely changed. So it's a fascinating look. So let's jump forward in time, y'all, to Both Sides Now by Joni Mitchell, as performed by her in the year 2000. Here we go. You get this sort of feathery orchestra
of angel hair and ice cream castles in the air and feather canyons everywhere. Looked at clouds that way, but now they only block the sun.
They go to the one chord, but you don't get the low note just yet.
They rain and they snow on everyone.
Swimming and sort of
so many things
an enigma behind
I
her.
would have done,
It works with the meaning of the song.
but clouds got in my way.
You know, the meaning isn't in focus
I
yet,
looked at clouds
and now it is.
from both
And there's that
sides
low D.
now, from up and down, and still somehow it's cloud illusions I recall. I really
There's the two.
don't know clouds.
Stretches.
At all.
It's down a third. Slower tempo.
Moons and Junes
Sustained
and
strings.
Ferris wheels, the dizzy dancing way.
It's amazing how
that
different it
you
is.
feel as every fairy tale comes real. I've looked at love that way, but now it's just another show.
The string arrangement is
And you leave 'em
brilliant.
laughing
by the
when
way.
you go. And if you can,
The basses are
don't
pitsing,
let me know.
as probably half the section is pitsing and half the section is arco, to get that little percussive element as well as the sustained
I looked
element.
at love from both sides now,
Warm low brass.
from give and take. And still somehow it's love's illusions that I recall. I really don't know love.
The vocal delivery alludes to someone who
I really don't know love at
has
all.
had experiences, a different person than the person that recorded it before.
Tears and fears and feeling proud.
It catches in her
To
delivery.
say I love you
Vocally.
right out loud. Dreams and schemes and circus crowds. I've looked at life that way.
It's
Oh,
sublime.
but now,
Isn't
old
it?
friends, they're acting strange. And they shake their heads and they tell me that I've changed.
You probably have changed, but so have they.
But something's gained
There are parts of our
in
lives
living.
where we come into relationships, and there's parts where we move out of relationships.
I look at life from both sides now, from win and lose, and still somehow it's life's illusions I recall. I really don't know life at all.
interesting solo.
It's life's illusion
It's like shards of light,
that I recall.
of clarity from the saxophone.
I really don't know life. I really don't know life at all.
Ooh. Flat 7. There it is. Unfinished. Home, but unfinished. You know, we've been doing these big episodes on Fridays where they're longer pieces, and we call them Masterpiece Fridays. And you know, we've listened to entire sides of albums, entire albums on Fridays. Longer pieces, big jams. This is a shorter song, and these two, I wanted to do it on the Friday because to me it is a masterwork. And I think of both of these both of these versions of the same song by the same performer to be almost from a completely different performer, even though it's the same human being. The time separation and the way that the song is sort of reinterpreted by Joni in her vocal delivery and in the orchestrator and in the orchestra, it's like getting into a movie and the song coming up at the beginning where the young person in their 20s is going through stuff and they learn something and they have a realization and they chart off on their path, and we hear the song and it's in the voice of the young person. And if it's a biopic or you go through that person's life experiences 30 something years later, they have more insight in all of the experiences that they have experienced and gone through. She refers to this stuff as illusions, and that's interesting to me. Let me get back up to where the lyrics are. It's love's illusions that I recall. I really don't know love at all. It's life's illusions that I recall. It's the clouds' illusions that I recall. Every illusion is real to us, isn't it? In the moment, if we experience an illusion, it's real to us, and it's true at the time or on that particular day or in the moment. And it's been true then in a different way every single day that we live through. So depending on how we're feeling on a particular day or where we're at or where we are in our life's journey, if we were to experience something, we're going to have a different memory of it based on how we approach it, how we interact with it. I remember having a conversation with a professor some years ago, and we were remarking that, you know, when you're in high school, you think you know everything. And then you get to college and you realize you really don't know a whole lot. And then if you go on to graduate school and you end up getting a graduate degree, and me, 2 of them, you realize you really don't know a damn thing because there's always a deeper layer. There's always more context. There's always another point of view to help us look at this thing 3-dimensionally, right? And it helps provide context and meaning, but it also can be confusing because multiple points of view can be right simultaneously. You know, so we realize that we don't know anything as we discover all of these intangible aspects of our lives uh, these things have meaning based on the point of view of the person living through it in the moment. With a lot of the stuff that we've been going through in America, some people might think of a situation where they're in a park and they happen to see a policeman going by or patrolling the area, and they might see the policeman as a sign of protection, while somebody else in the exact same circumstance might see the same policeman as a sign of an impending threat. And what I've come to try to understand or to realize is that both of these realities are valid for these people. Even though they're completely different realities, both of them are valid. And through empathy, we can learn from each other and gain added context and understanding. Even in our relationships, as a husband, I've tried to learn that whenever Megan says that I've done something to upset her in some way, I react in a manner that seeks to understand the source of that anger, what I did, that triggered her emotional response, instead of being defensive or adopting a posture of, I didn't do anything to make you mad, which invalidates her reality, right? So it's an empowering way to live, but it also makes things a little bit less black and white, less clearly defined. In the end, y'all, some things in life can be blessings and then become curses, and some things can be curses and then become blessings. And both are true, depending on the day and how we choose to interact with and process what we experience in profound ways defines our memory of what we have lived through and how we learned from it. We started this by looking at clouds from both sides. We're changing perspective, right? We're earthbound versus skybound. And depending on how you're looking at something, the reality of it, the meaning of it can change. And it's such a profound lyric, y'all, from Joni. The music is wonderful. It's nebulous. It's enigmatic. And occasionally there's shards of clarity, but really it's just going through the process. And the process or the destination is the journey, I guess, right? And trying to be as humble as we can and as curious about our experiences without being judgmental about how they affect us or who did them, or who started it or what. It's trying to be a complete empathetic person, and it's tough. It's tough sometimes, but the music helps me, y'all. It's a reminder, and it allows me to take the time to dwell on these ideas and to remind myself of this discipline of just trying to be an upstanding, decent person, especially with all that's going on in the world right now, and try to have some understanding and some empathy for a myriad of outlooks and personal experiences. So that's a lot, y'all. I've been talking a bit. If you're still with me, thank you for being here. Sometimes these songs just spur these reactions, and I'm just happy to have the opportunity to spend some time with you all and to try to figure out what it is about songs like this that work as well as they do in describing the human condition. I think this is why it's so universally used in all of these movies and television shows, because any character, male, female, kid, elderly person, it doesn't matter. This song can be applicable whenever we are observing someone taking a deeper look, expanding their knowledge, expanding their context. And so, wow, thanks to Joni for writing this absolutely magnificent and powerful and lasting tune. It's been an absolutely wonderful week featuring women musicians here on the channel. I promise, y'all, that we, through the coming weeks, will have a better mix of male singers and bands, and we're gonna keep the gals in the mix, y'all, because it's their artistic output is just as worthy for us, and man, it's just powerful stuff. So I'm excited about all that's coming up. But that is all for today and this week. Thanks everybody for hanging out with me, and we will see you next time on another edition of the Daily Doug.